Adekunle Tayo, let's talk about these things the professor just said. For the customers, and then allaying the face of the customers that there is going to be no more charges or no hidden charges as such. But there may be some 0.0001, as you said, additional service charge or whatever, that the customer will take, as he made example with himself, and of course I too will go in for that. But I have at the back of my mind that the president has paid for everything. But nonetheless, I should bear that very little charge. Have your customers been really sensitized on this? A question you didn't answer much earlier is the one about, customers who might have paid or give deposit towards having or acquiring a new meter. And here comes the presidential initiative that's saying that it's going to be free. How would you want to address that?
I like to align myself with what the chairman of NERC, our regulator, has said. I agree with him too. It's a win-win situation for all the stakeholders in this mass metering initiative. It's going to help us as a DISCO, distributor electricity, to ensure that we do better energy accounting. It's also going to help the customer to ensure that he only pays for what he or she consumes. And even the regulator to do proper monitoring of the industry. Local manufacturers too, they also have a piece of the cake in terms of developing their capacity and deployment ability for local meter manufacturing and all that. And just as the chairman has said, they've been given a portion of the requisite quantity to be produced. Now, what is very clear in this whole arrangement is that for the customer, there will not be any upfront payment. There won't be any hidden charges. And again, because the DISCOs are getting the meters through a bank loan that will be given to banks, that will be given to the MAP partners that will bring in these meters, is at a cost. And such a cost will be spread for a long time period. And like the chairman said, it may be just a small token that will eventually come back to the customer. It might even be in terms of energy consumed that you just see a little service charge to actually defray that cost on a long term and not immediate term. However, what is very, very clear is that the modality for the cost recovery in this mass metering initiative and any other modality, any other cost will be communicated to the beneficiaries. They will be clearly stated to them. They will know what they are entering into. Now, don't forget that we have the meter asset provider scheme already on ground. And like I said, we have the option of optional payment of installment payment embedded in that scheme in addition to people that pay upfront. Now, there are three phases in this mass metering initiative. We have the zero phase, which is targeted at 1 million deployment. For customers that have been duly captured, duly registered, their premises have been covered, definitely, if there are some of them that are on the optional long-term basis, we try and migrate some of them into this mass metering initiative. For those that are supposed to pay as you go, if the meters are ready based on the one the map is supplying, they will get their own. If some of them are also ready, they are also captured under the enumeration, they can also be migrated within, because the idea is that the meter is supposed to be a major tool to measure electricity supply, and people are tired of estimated billing. Fine, let meters be available and let the industry work. However, because it's a loan and it's at a cost to the people that are involved, then there must be a way to recover this cost in a very gradual and on a long-term basis. And that's what the chairman is saying. Everything is being regulated. We are all players and we stick to the rules. Everything will be communicated to the customer. So, but the bottom line is that it makes things easy and the industry works. Thank you.
Mr. Adekunle Tayo, thank you. I'll still remain with you. You will agree that since the sector was privatized, there have been initiatives, by the regulator and of course government to enable you, the DISCOs, carry out what ordinarily within the policy, that you keyed into, your key performance indicators meant that you should provide meters for at least, more than 1 million customers. But you haven't been able to do that. So why should enumerated customers trust you in this? And I also like you to tell us how, because you've also complained about the multi-year tariff order, that is the MYTO, and the impact on your metering capacity. How does this initiative help you resolve those issues?
Thank you very much. Just as the chairman said, enumeration is key for a customer to be metered. Because during the enumeration process, you're able to capture the data of the customer. You're able to see, you are able to assess the load, that is in terms of consumption capacity of the customer. You're able to code the customer, you're able to put the customer in your network and duly registered, duly serviced properly. When all this one is done, then you can give good and efficient services to the customer. But during the process of enumeration, what we have discovered is that a lot of the customers are not available. Some of them are not at home. Some of them, you don't even have access to them. And if this enumeration is not done, there's no way you can provide efficient service, even including metering to all of them. Now, this presidential mass metering initiative will help in actually bridging the metering rate, in the sense that DISCOs have been trying to ensure that all the customers are metered. But there are a lot of things happening in the environment. For instance, the customer population keeps growing, even through enumeration. When we started at BEDC about 7 years ago, the customer population was less than 1 million, maybe about 600,000 or thereabout. But through enumeration, new customer capture, new connections, the customer base was able to grow to over 1 million. And it keeps growing on a daily basis as new connections are done and some other customers are captured into the grid via enumeration. Now, this presidential mass initiative will assist in supporting the metering program that is already put in place by the regulator. Like the chairman rightly said, we have about 10 million gaps to be filled. But with this presidential initiative, 6 million out of that 10 million gaps is to be met. And that's why it's spread out across, a phase-by-phase implementation basis. You are also aware that we have to also give room for local content, and that's why the local manufacturers have been factored into it. The CBN is providing this financial support, not direct to DISCO, but they are using banks that will guarantee the loan. And they are using the meter asset provider who is going to bring in the meters to be given to the customers. And each of the DISCOs have been allotted some quantity in terms of target to be met under the first phase, are rarely initiated by the chairman. Ours at BEDC is 90,870 meters, which has been allocated to us for rollout. And this one will start soon as some of the modalities and the formalities are met. The paper signed, the customer, is duly captured, and some of the other things, arrangement involved, are fully met. These things will roll out and will be met. So, in a way, the presidential mass initiative is assisting in trying to ensure that the power sector works, and some of the major complaint of availability is eradicated. It is not a one-cap-fits-all. The existing meter arrangement being run by each of the DISCOs will still continue. We have some other types of metering that we are doing.
All right, Mr. Adekunle Tayo, we'll return back to you in a moment. We have a number of tweets that have come in. Yusuf, I think we could quickly take them, then
let's go
continue with our conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Let's begin with Dele Jack Solomon. And I really want to appreciate you, Dele, and the rest of you who always send in your tweets. Thank you very much. So Dele Jack Solomon tweets, to achieve the target of ending estimated billing, government should be prepared to tackle saboteurs head-on, especially as spoilers in the sector would not hesitate throwing a spanner in the works with the usual administrative bottlenecks. We must be resolute to checkmate this.
And Innocent Yawal James says, this is just an initiative. And will those concerned do justice and be patriotic enough to obey the presidential initiative without flooding rather complaints? And the metering is a huge step towards bringing sanity to the electricity problem crippling the nation's development.
Chris Simeon, power sector has suffered bottlenecks for more than a decade now. For a presidential mass metering initiative to meet its target, federal government, discos, GENCOs, and stakeholders have to come together for roundtable discussion and draw guidelines and modality that will reposition the sector.
Steve Bond, that is 007, says it's a good initiative if it's followed to the letter, and that's what you're trying to do here.
And Titus Monday, there is another one, Steve Bond, 007. Stephen says it's a good initiative if it's followed to the latter. Okay, you read that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, Titus Monday, I hope and pray that some individuals wouldn't hoard the meters to later sell them to the highest bidder. Stiffer monitoring should be in place to avert moves by some greedy people to profit from this laudable project. I wish to thank government for this palliative at this critical moment.
Ajani Olatunde Olaolua says it's going to be a noble project if done equitably and transparently.
And Ugwai Christiana Ibuka, it's a noble idea from the presidency, but the problem will be executing and implementing so that the average man can benefit without cutting corners. The woes and tales of estimated billing around abound, and if this mass metering succeeds, I see us solving 40% of our electricity problem.
Comrade Ngala says mass metering initiative is a good development. It will reduce the cost of electricity bill. Is that so?
And Yunusa Idre says this is a very good move. The Kaduna discos inaugurated and flagged off the phase 1 distribution in Kaduna. He witnessed it, but said there's scarcity of the meters compared to customers on ground.
Leo Fadaka is saying that this presidential initiative will put an end to the sharp practices of power sector officials, as in the telecommunications sector, Nigerians don't default in pay-as-you-go for the phone bills. Finally, paying for darkness will be a thing of the past.
Okay, we have also a number of tweets. Jibril Salisu Naina, Ibrahim Abdusalam, Bello, Olanrewaju Saeed. All of you have commended this initiative. And of course, Fonohomi, you also thank the president for this initiative. Temilolu also, you said, why not develop a meter box that will house about 8 meters and mount on the electricity pole and service the house with a cable from the meters to their house to prevent bypassing of meters? Thank you, all of you, for your tweets. We always appreciate you. Yes, just before we go to Lagos, Prof, issues have been raised, hoarding of meters. You heard somebody from Kaduna already saying, look, they have more customers than there are meters. You are the regulator. How are we going to ensure that doesn't happen?
And even at that, when you look at the history of this kind of free things in Nigeria, check also the malaria, rollback malaria issue of the federal government, that very program, where you find mosquito nets, that are supposed to be free in the market being sold. And even the most recent one, talking about the answers, the palliatives, and the rest of them, you find them in the markets and things like that. When things become free in this country, you find people, engaging in shortages about them. How would you want to address it?
First, I want to acknowledge a lot of positive comments from the tweets, especially in respect and acknowledging the Mr. President. A bold decision, a very wise decision for a good leader who had made it possible for this country to turn it around in the energy sector. Unless this is done, we've been saying it, somebody has to do this, and he has done it. He deserves a round of applause. He deserves a lot of applause. Mr. President, I throw my salute.
So the challenge is
the challenge,
yes.
challenge now that you've noted, as a regulator, we must make sure we do what we do very well, which is to make sure we provide appropriate monitoring, and we are going to provide opportunity for customers to self-report to us that either A, what has been promised is not given, and we will go after the DISCO to ensure, and I'm sure the DISCO are ready to cooperate. If not, we will take action.
How do you intend to do
the action is that they have disobeyed Mr. President initiative. If Mr. President, the commander-in-chief says do this and you don't, then you don't respect your president. Then you are not a good citizen of this country.
Nigerians
what
really
I'm saying is this.
Nigerians who really want to see now, especially when you talk about the public response
Yes.
to your own initiative or to the presidential initiative. Nigerians who want to hear some concrete, step to be taken by you. Like, say, for instance, you can have a toll-free number, look that the police do, and
I was just going to tell you that.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, there's always neighborhood watch. There's always community watch, right? There's always, somebody is always going to be trying to game the system. But there must be a reporting system. I don't know what's going on right now in Lagos or in Kaduna from here. But there must be a reporting system. There must be a monitoring. There must be a compliance. There must be an enforcement. This is what NERC stands for. Monitoring, making sure that we hear it and we do it, and we also measure what quantity of power we have sold to this customer and they are using it, and there's a payback. Don't forget, when we sell power to a disco, that disco now needs to sell it. I need to collect money and through the value chain and pay back. Now, if you are not metering people, then you cannot collect money. I think it makes sense, right?
It does.
Yeah, you are not monitoring, so you cannot collect money because we're not going to allow you. So therefore, you will not balance your account.
But you have been allowing them estimated
and this
billing.
is over now. the days of estimated
So we want to
billing
see NERC do something different.
Now, NERC is also, like I said, I talk about identifying, coding each customer, knowing the identity of customers. We need to know that. The government has come up with another initiative we didn't discuss. Is the so-called cashless billing and metering initiative and payment initiative by the same president. Last year we did that. What that does is that it's going to capture total energy sold to the value chain, to the disco, and it's going to be seamlessly so-called cashless, okay?
Let's pause you, Prof. You can talk until let's quickly take Lagos and come back to you.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Yes.
let's talk. Let's see, Hamid Abiodun, this issue of presidential mass metering initiative is not just about providing meters and then you providing them, for instance, and then giving them to the discos to distribute for free as the initiative entails. It's also about creating employment for Nigerians and looking at, or rather bridging the gap. As you bridge the supply gap in electricity, also bridge the gap in employment, for Nigerians. Earlier you said from 200 to 400 your staff, got up. And since you're talking about the local manufacturers, how do you intend to address or achieve this very issue of employment, given the fact that there are so many of Nigerians roaming the streets and who have the capacity to be part of this initiative?
Very much. Like I have stated earlier, I do not know. I don't know whether Mr. Chairman misconstrued my position. Maybe I'm a bit passionate about the sector. But I said it earlier that as I'm talking here now, we have over 300 youths in our metering school. That is the first of its kind in this country. And even the NERC, we have written to them for endorsement. We are even sponsoring a national critic workshop with the MBTE on the school. So we're doing a lot on our part. Like the effect of this NMMP, it's enormous, given the fact that, like I said, it has really, impaired positively on our production activities and all these things. And in a couple of months to come, there will be an increment in terms of the production, production output, and the Nigerians that will be engaged in various factories making these electricity meters. And in the same vein, the installation part is another potential area through which Nigerians can get employment. And that is what we have taken, we are doing on our own. And I think we deserve a lot of commendation in this regard. To single-handedly, given the situation of things in the country, yet we're still doing our own bit to really complement the initiative. It's a laudable one, it's a good one. And but what we're saying, which I keep emphasizing, is the need to keep on supporting our local manufacturers so that the sector can continue to grow. There's what we call the only way to grow is for the regulators and every other stakeholders to continue to support the manufacturing sector so that it will have multiplier effect on the entire economy. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. Just a final word from the Prof. Are there penalties if benchmarks are not met?
Well, like I said earlier on, there will be penalties because we will actually blackmail the discourse that has failed to provide the necessary numbers of allocated number of meters. There'll be a publication. We'll put their names in the newspaper, and if not, we will call them, we'll write them, and there will be a penalty. And I'm sure they will be willing to work with us because I think they bought into this initiative, and you heard it. So my opinion, my hope is that they will drive it, and we will make sure they drive because it's money-making venture for them. And you heard it's going to produce businesses and money and jobs for the young Nigerians. And you heard what they have said. If you take each of the disco, let's say each disco, they're going to have to get a meter assembly, meter tester, a meter installer, and of course, they have to package and all this at the manufacturing level or even on site. That's people, men and women, who will be working, creating jobs. And the job creation for the economy of Nigeria is going to be based on a lot of the manufacturing is number one. Agriculture is another one. Oil is another one. We also have the issue of ICT. ICT is embedded in this chip. So it means very simply that education to Nigerian youth is that Nigeria is now ready for industrialization because we're going to have more power out there that is going to provide services and products for us to use. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Prof, thank you. Go ahead, Niso.
Many thanks. Really, there is so much from you, Prof. Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. It's our pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. You wake me up every morning, though.
Well, thank you so much for keeping the date with us also. And many more thanks too to Hamid Abiodun, Chief of Staff of the Chairman of Momoh's Electricity Meters Manufacturing Company Limited. We thank you so much for being part of this program this morning. It's our pleasure. And so also is Adekunle. You've been a good contributor, and I hope Nigerians have enjoyed your insights and will really work with that. It's our pleasure to be part of us. Thank you very much.